Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to the Carolina CRE podcast. It's about 2 o'clock on, what's the day, Justin? The 28th of July. Recording on a beautiful Tuesday. Justin Whiteside is my guest today. He's down at in Ocean Isle Beach. He's the town manager, and he's ascended to that role after a pretty good long career there. This is going to be one of my more fun podcasts because Justin and I go way back to freshman year of college at App State in East Dorm. I think that was second floor. That was a weird place, but I can't remember if it was second or third. But Justin lived about, I think, like three or four doors down from John Kim and I, our freshman year. So we go way back. We've been friends, and it's been fun for me to follow Justin's career. How you doing, Justin?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. How are things going down there?
Good, man. It's a busy time, busy season right now. Lots of
Yeah,
people.
man. Let me just stop you there. Before we get into your intro and all that, what are you doing about Saturday traffic, man? Last weekend, I'm having to go to my in-laws' house down at Ocean Isle. I'm sitting in traffic for like 45 minutes, man. Like, what are you doing there? Come on.
I, I don't have any issue with it. You learn when to go out and when not to.
What's the right time to come in?
You don't have to worry about the check in, check out of a rental. So you should come on Friday and not
Uh,
not Saturday at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock.
yeah. All right. I'll take responsibility for it this one time, but I want to see
Okay,
a
there you
plan in
go.
place for the future.
Hey,
What
we
side?
can we
All
can
right.
get them off fast, but we can't get them on quickly. Everybody's coming at the
Yeah.
same time.
Well, the traffic circle is an improvement, I think. Or the
If we
traffic
can get some
circles.
slip lanes, we're working on that. So we'll see. We're pushing DOT hard to try to get some slip lanes installed there, and we'll see what happens.
All right. All right. Well, that's the stuff I want to hear about. Let me do a little intro for Justin first. I did tell you about how far he and I go back, and that's legit. He is a personal friend of mine. He and his family, I love him dearly, and so we'll have some fun here. But I want to give you a little intro just for listeners that don't know anything about Justin yet. Uh, so he is the town manager at Ocean Isle, and he's a Rutherford County native. And he once tried to convince us that P.D. Pablo's song mentioned Rutherford County, which is not true. But he did make a valiant effort to make that stick. So, like I said, we went to App State together. He's down in Brunswick County. Been there, what, 23 years, Justin, I think you said?
Be 23 years in August. Yeah.
That's pretty awesome, man. I can't believe how old we're getting. Started there at Town Hall there, first as a code enforcement officer, then planning and inspections director, assistant administrator, and today as a town manager, as I mentioned. That ground up perspective has made him one of the region's most knowledgeable voices on coastal development, from zoning battles and CAMA regulations to the town's landmark terminal groin project. I want to hear about that, Justin. His influence now extends well beyond the island. He serves on the North Carolina League of Municipalities Legislative Policy Committee. Man, that's a mouthful. And was recently appointed to the Brunswick Community College Board of Trustees. Excuse me. He joins us today to talk about growth, change, and what's next for Ocean Isle Beach and Brunswick County, the fastest growing county in North Carolina, and one of the fastest growing in the United States. So, Justin, talk about what took you down there and what's been going on ever since there, just from say 30,000 square feet or 30,000 feet.
Really, what brought me was graduated from Appalachian, had to finish in summer school, summer of '03, and had no idea what I wanted to do. But my grandparents had a little vacation house at Ocean Isle, not on the island, it was off the island. Um, and so I thought, well, there's a job opening down there. If I don't make it, I don't have a lease, and it just all worked out. Got the job, and I guess it's. I know a lot of people move around. They go from place to place. Both my parents worked in the same jobs for 30 years, and that's just kind of what I thought I was supposed to do. And I hope I can finish out my career at Ocean Isle.
Yeah. And what have you seen change there, I guess, on and off the island since you got there?
On the island when I was young, man, 21, naive, hadn't learned a lot. I'm still learning, still growing, but at 21, I thought I was moving to the beach and it was going to be a party all the time. And I got there in August, and everything had pretty much shut down. I mean, I think the tumbleweed outnumbered the residents on the island that first winter, and I didn't know what I'd gotten into. So the change from 2003 to now has just been drastic. I mean, it's, COVID changed a lot with people being able to work from anywhere and live from it, work from anywhere, and it's just a lot more full-time residents. I mean, they say we're at 1,000 according to the census, but there's always more than 1,000 people on that island, and then off the island. I mean, as you mentioned, Brunswick County's just exploded.
Yeah, man,
That's
I
all the
remember
county.
yeah, I remember we'd come down to hang out with you guys on the weekends and stuff back in 20 years ago, and I think there are 500 people living full time on the island. So, I mean, even if it is just 1,000, that's monumental growth.
Yeah, see, I don't believe 1,000 today, and I don't
Yeah.
believe 500 then, because I don't know where you'd have found 500 people in 2003 on the island. It's just what I don't think it was possible.
Yeah, well, and I love that Ocean Isle during the summer, but I actually really like it during the winter and the off season when it's kind of quieter and you can get around a little bit easier. Although it's not too bad getting around, other than Saturdays. So,
Other than
all right. So,
Saturdays, I get it.
what did you got there in what's 26? You got there in what 03?
I
Golly, man.
agree.
Uh, yeah. What development looked like in the island when you arrived, and what's the biggest change you've witnessed?
I mean, development on the island, it was steady then. I remember, like I said, I was just learning things, and we still had a fax machine in the office, and we we would get
I remember that.
faxes from the original developer from his wife, and it was basically they were still the majority landowners of a lot of especially the canal lots that were undeveloped. And I'm going to get these numbers wrong, but let's just say that a canal lot, 50 foot wide by 115-foot deep was, let's say, $150,000. Well, that fax would say right now they're 150. Next week they're going to 175. So if you want one at this price, and I guess those faxes went out to builders and whoever else. They had I guess a mass fax, and then every few months that was happening, and I was like, dang, is this how the real world works? Like I'm never going to be able to buy a house or anything else. I just, I didn't know what I didn't know. And then we had go through '06, '07. They're building 80 something homes on the island every year. And then we had the recession, and it was almost like you were begging people to build a house at that
Hmm.
point. But then it all, we came out of the recession and hit COVID, and it's just been skyrocketing from there.
Yeah, you can't go a block down the street in Ocean Isle and not hear a hammer swinging or saw spinning down there. It's just everywhere you look. There's renovation, new builds. It's pretty incredible. So, Justin, kind of talk about Brunswick County's growth. What it grew about 24% between 2020 and 2024. Now ranks among the fastest growing counties in the entire country. I think it was the number one for a while, if it's not already. Kind of talk about from a more macro county level what's going on there.
I mean, I guess everybody wants to be at the beach, and they want to get as close as they can to the beach without kind of being on the island. I mean, the island, you got a lot of maintenance issues to deal with. You worry about hurricanes and evacuations, and you've got one way on and off. For us and Sunset, Holden. Oak Island has a couple of bridges, but there's a lot of people that they may have come and been on the island to start with, and maybe they age got a little up in age and don't want to deal with the stairs and having to use an elevator. And you've got all these new communities that are coming in that Dale Webb, the 55 plus
Hmm.
communities, and we've got a lot of major developers that have came in, and it's exploding. Ocean Isle Beach Road, or what we call 4 Mile Road, I mean, it's going to look totally different in the next few years with some of these developments that have finally started to get off the ground. And of course, just like with anywhere else, growth, you've got your issues. I mean, your infrastructure, especially roads. I mean, that's we're all fighting with the same pot of money to get these roads, but it's been a big change. And now with the residential, you get the roof, you get the what I've heard, this is your podcast with commercial real estate, but what I've heard, you got to have the residential rooftops before the commercial
Chasing rooftops.
development
Yep.
comes.
Hmm.
Um, But we've got to. I don't do the economic development here, but I've got to. I don't know how we have the workforce to support a lot of this, because a lot of the people that are moving into the county are of the, they're older. I'm trying to be nice, but I mean, they got to have somebody that works in these industries, and service industry is huge. So we got to have the people to work in these jobs, and we're not like Myrtle Beach and Wilmington, where you've got a college, a large university there that you've got kids can work year round. We just don't have that workforce availability here. But I mean, it's coming. We're in between two of the largest municipal service areas. Is that what it is? Metro service, MSAs.
MSA, yeah.
Between Wilmington and Myrtle Beach, and we're just getting, it's coming. It's coming on both ends.
Yeah. No, you can see it obviously trickling down 4 Mile Road, but also 17. Yeah, 17 was a country highway when you moved down there. Now you can't go 100 yards without seeing some sort of development. So
it's certainly not a bypass anymore with all the stoplights and
yeah,
kind of Michigan left turns. I mean, it's not a bypass.
Are there any plans for that on 17 to make it a little bit more of a continuous? I don't know what the wording is there for it, but you understand that.
Well, there's a big push, or a big local push, I guess, to get Highway 31 out of South Carolina extended up in North Carolina, calling it the Carolina Bays Parkway. And I think South Carolina, Horry County already has the funds to extend it to the state line. But in North Carolina, we try to you got to get scored high enough within DOT's formula to be able to get these roads. And right now we don't have the same congestion. Always scores high. Safety, we don't have the same congestion all the time as Wilmington, Raleigh, Charlotte, where you see all these big road projects going. So we are looking at maybe doing, I think tolling is being looked at, just any way to try to get that road into the county, and hopefully one day extend it all the way from the county state line all the way up to 140 in Leland.
Which extends around the north side of Wilmington already.
Right.
You guys got any other DOT projects coming in the vicinity or even in town?
No, those are between trying to get those slip lanes, it's in the county long range transportation plan, and I think on some DOT long range plans for a second bridge on Ocean Isle on the east end at Schlupp Boulevard, for anybody that's familiar. Now, when or if that will happen, I don't know. That's kind of a long time down the road. But the slip lanes are the major thing we're working on for transportation wise. Is at least trying to get, what we're saying with the slip lane is, instead of having to get into the traffic circle itself or the roundabout, is you're if you're taking a right and you're coming up, you just shoot off to the right.
Bypass,
you don't have to get in the circle. So it's if we can get at least a couple of those, it's going to help some of that congestion on Saturdays, because really it works as it's supposed to 99% of the time. It's those 12 Saturdays a year when it's kind of backed up.
Yeah, and that's the thing a lot of people don't see when it comes to highway projects, is that you see it at its worst, but it's hard to justify multi 8-9 figure project for because congestion is an hour a day or 2 hours a week or something like that. So I understand. So Justin and I were having a conversation, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, and we were talking about all the commercial development there at Ocean Isle, especially at that intersection of Ocean Isle. What are the two? Is that Charlotte Road and Ocean Isle?
It's Ocean Isle Beach Road and 179.
Yeah, and so when I start, my wife's parents have had a house down there since before we started dating. So I really started going down there then, and there were no Lowe's food, there was no Publix Center, certainly no Mavis, McDonald's, anything like that. Like the old grocery store was the IGA, I believe.
IGA.
Yeah, and the town hall was on the island. But we were talking about considerations that they, in their planning process and approval process and their ordinances, the things that they take in consideration. Justin made an interesting comment to me that day. If you know anything about Ocean Isle, the airport, small municipal airport there is right across the street from the public center there, and the McDonald's. And Justin mentioned, I think he was kind of joking, but in all seriousness, he said, I was worried about trash being in the parking lot or a fry being in the parking lot and a seagull coming or a bird coming and picking up the fry and getting in the path of a plane or something like that. And to me, again, I think he was semi-joking, but to me that was interesting. That was an interesting way of seeing how town planners evaluate projects. And so, to that point, Justin, how do you guys evaluate the efficacy, the benefit of a project when it comes on your desk?
Well, now with state law, they have you can't downzone anymore. So basically, if your property is allowed to have a development on it by right now, then you can't deny it, can't make a change unless the property owner agrees to it. And there's probably not a lot of property owners are going to say, yeah, take away some of my uses on this property. I want to maybe make it less valuable. So right now, as long as it's meeting setbacks, height requirements, parking standards, we can, we approve them. And that's the thing I think a lot of people don't understand about the development as a whole in the county. They're upset with these large developments, and your kind of hands are tied right now with some of the things that you can try to deny. There's got to be very specific reasons, justifiable reasons to deny anything. And there was just a state law change that dealt with parking, though. I don't think the 20 coastal counties, which are Brunswick is included, we can still require minimum parking standards on commercial development, but I think other towns and counties across the state will no longer be able to apply any kind of minimum standards to parking.
Yeah, it's interesting. I know about that because I had a conversation with a client of mine. It's probably been a year or two about that, and the discussion is that they obviously have a bias in the situation, but they thought it was a good law in regard to their developments, because the thought is that our retailers are not going to want too few spaces because they're going to want to make it easy and accessible to their customers. So that wasn't a huge deal to them, but it may have been to you guys. So any projects coming down the pike that you can talk about that are public yet?
We really don't have a lot going on. I mean, as far as there's some not industries, but some kind of service kind of deals that are looking in the area. As far as Ocean Isle, as far as our planning jurisdiction, is not really large. The Ocean Isle proper is basically the island and the causeway on the mainland to the roundabout, and then we do have the public shopping center. But most of everything else is in our ETJ. So we don't have a big corporate limits or a big planning area, really. Ocean Isle address is large. Like, it can go across 17. You've got an Ocean Isle address, but that's all set by the Postal Service, and so there's a lot of confusion sometimes with that. I know other towns have the same deal. We'll get a lot of calls, about something wanting to come to Ocean Isle, and then it's not even in our planning jurisdiction. So it's one of the things that we have to deal with.
Gotcha. All right. So you and I have talked over the years about the renourishment of the beaches and stuff like that. I know that I don't claim to know a ton about this, but what do you call it? The groin there, that project you guys, the terminal groin. What is that? What's the history on that? Kind of talk about that, Justin.
Anybody that knows anything about Ocean Isle, the east end has been eroding for years. You can look at old plat maps, and there's tons of lots that were platted, still platted, that are just out in the water now. So in North Carolina, I think we were one of the only two states that didn't allow hardened structures on the ocean front. And I'll give credit to our mayor, Debbie Smith. She's been the mayor ever since, I was hired in August. She became mayor in November of 2003, and she's been the mayor ever since. But she really lobbied for this legislation, for this law change to be able to install something to protect the east end of our island. For years, it was lines of sandbags. I mean, it was probably, we probably had 2,000 foot of solid wall of sandbags along the ocean front, just protecting structures, infrastructure, town roads, just trying to hold the ocean back. So I think it was about 2011 or 2012 was when that legislation changed. We to be able to allow terminal groins. I think they were going to allow up to 4. Us and Bald Head started the process. Unfortunately, the town and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers got sued based on our permit issuance. So it was about 2016 we were trying to get going with it, 2016, 2017, and then we had to put it on hold until that suit could be settled. But Bald Head moved forward. So then in 21, we started construction of that groin on the east end, and it's called a terminal groin. It was placed at the terminal end of development, and then in conjunction with that groin was a beach nourishment project. So I'm not sure on the amount of cubic yards of sand they pumped out there along on the western side of that groin after installation, but it's held up well. I mean, everything, it was designed to protect. It's doing a great job.
What is a terminal groin? I understand the terminal part.
Okay.
But what is the groin?
It is a rock structure, so it's about 750 foot of individually placed stones that go out into the water. There's a 300 foot on the land side. There's a 300 foot vinyl sheet pile wall that goes down into the ground. It's got a concrete cap on top, and then they started placing stones. Like I said, 750 feet out into the water, and it was a process. It was like Tetris. You had a guy with a track. You had a dump truck that would back all the way out. Once they started at the front and just started on the land side and just started working their way out to the ocean, and one by one they were with a big dump truck backing up, and then you had an excavator that would pick it up and place the stone exactly like it needed to go, because that groin is what they call leaky, so they want sand to be able to pass around it, over it, and through it, so it just doesn't block everything. So those stones had to be placed a certain way, and it was a tedious job for somebody to do. I mean, just watching, I couldn't imagine being in that truck just bouncing up and down all day long, back and forth delivering that stone. But in I think it was April of 22 is when we completed the groin, and we've had a beach nourishment project which a previous long-serving mayor, Betty Williamson, helped get in place with the Army Corps of Engineers back in, I think it was 2000 or 2001. It was a 50-year project where every 3 years, as needed, the federal government will put sand on the beach, basically. But it was only a defined area. And this area where we did the groin and we did our own beach nourishment, that wasn't included in that project area. But I say the federal government pays for it. It's 65% is paid for by the federal government, and the 35% is split between the town and the state of North Carolina.
What's the total project cost on that?
I think the last one was around $9 million, and It's not been the full. I think we've done it 5 times. I'm sorry, I can't remember all this. Time runs together now, but there's only been a total nourishment one time of the entire project area, which is around 3 miles. So we've never had to do that big of a section again. But I think the last project went to a mile and a half, and it was around $9 million.
Yeah, I would have thought it'd been a lot more than that. So, all right. You guys recently updated your county land use plan. What are the key priorities in the plan? What are things going to look like around, say, 2040?
I mean, the number one thing is just sustaining the beach. I mean, the beach is the draw, so without the beach, you're not getting the people. So that's always going to be number one. But also, smart growth in the ways we can. There's very limited area left on the island, but we want to make sure it's developed in a good, smart, sustainable way. I mean, you got to look at hurricanes and all other kind of disasters that may come on the island there to try to protect these homes and these residents.
Yeah, and
those are the 2 big things.
None of the old lots will be recovered, right, through this project?
I'm not trying to get too legal, um, but there's a state law on the books. It's basically like if land is reclaimed by artificial means, which would be pumping sand through nourishment, then it becomes property of the state. Now, somebody that's been paying taxes on that piece of property for years, I don't know. It'll come out to play one day. There'll be a lawsuit at some point, but I don't want to speak to what will happen. I'll just tell you what the current law is.
Yeah. Shift gears a little bit here. You were, I think it was last year, the year before, you were appointed to the Brunswick Community College Board of Trustees. What's that been like?
It's been great, but it's been like other things, drinking from a fire hose, trying to learn as much as you can. There's a lot coming at you, then being a sponge to try to soak it all up. But BCC it's amazing. It's an asset for the county. I think you had a previous guest that talked about Johnston Community College, but I'll put Brunswick Community College up against any of them in the state. But it was an honor to get appointed. So it's been since last October. So I'm still learning. There's a lot to learn.
Yeah, and sometimes you get on those boards, it's kind of best practice just to kind of keep your mouth shut for a year, learn the lay of the land, get some of that institutional knowledge, and then you can start raising hell at that point, Uh, so what do you guys have going on over there right now at the college?
At BCC, well, we just dedicated our new public safety building, the Allen Holden Public Safety Complex, or Safety Center. It's a big structure on campus now that you're going to have your EMS, fire, law enforcement training all in house. They've got a fire truck driving simulator. We had the ribbon cutting, I think, a month or so ago. But you could get on the simulator and take a try. I didn't want to embarrass myself in front of a bunch of people. Figured I could do it some other time, but there was
you do pretty well at that already. So
there was a lady that had it turned over, like had the truck. It was on its side. But then they've got a law enforcement, kind of scenario simulator that I'm not sure how many different scenarios that it can do. And sorry, my dog is.
You're good, man.
But it's an asset to the college. I mean, we've got the nursing program. The practical nursing program was just ranked number 2 in North Carolina for the practical nursing program. We were just named one of the most promising places to work for community college, the only one in North Carolina that was on that list.
Yeah. Now that's not Dowdy passed, right? Your dog.
Yeah, no, this is Boone, Daniela Boone. She can't, going to come around and kind of nudge your arm.
There you go. Justin's wife went to ECU, so she got the first dog name. So, kind of maybe 2 more questions, Justin. What's in the future for Ocean Isle, Brunswick County, BCC?
I mean, right now it's just I don't see growth slowing down. I mean, but it's trying to figure it out. It's like I said, we're limited in what we can do, but we want to make the best of what we have now. And growth doesn't bother me. I don't know if I'm going to upset some people. I think there's always change, and you just have to adapt. And I think that's what we're trying to figure out in Brunswick County. They always say it's been found, and it's definitely been found. So we're trying to figure out how to handle it now. And you might not do the best job off the bat, but that's okay. I think we can all figure it out and adapt to the differences. I mean, people want to be here for a reason. I think Ocean Isle has grown so much because the people before me, the boards, the mayors, they did a great job in their vision for the island. I mean, we got water and sewer in the 80s. I mean, we were one of the first barrier islands to get that, and it was just a vision of that developer. And these boards have done such a good job; it's made people want to come here. And so it's hard to now say let's turn the faucet off. We don't want anybody else. I mean, they're coming for the same reasons that we love living here.
Yeah. My dad used to talk about it. You probably remember my dad, but he was from Pennsylvania, and he moved down here and to go to college, and he never went back. And he was pretty straightforward about that. He'd say, people move down here and they want to close the door behind them, but can't do that. Change is inevitable, and we just got to deal with it and plan it as best we can.
I think if you want to get away from everybody, you can move to the Northeast now because they're all going to be down here, so there'll be plenty of open area up there.
Man, that's a tight jab there, Justin. I like that.
Oh, man, come on. You got to have a little fun. You got to
That's
have a
right,
little
man. Well, probably half your voting base down there is probably a bunch of Yankees anyway, aren't they?
I'd probably say the biggest majority. Yeah, I mean it's you know Leland. I mean it hadn't been in town long. It's up in the northern section of the county, but I think they're like it was a magazine that the state puts out once a year, and I think they were in the top 35 of the largest towns in North Carolina.
Wow. I mean, I believe it. My old company, we had an office in Leland. And I remember when we first got there, I thought, people were moving over the bridge from Wilmington to live in Leland. And I thought, who the hell would want to live over here? This place sucks. And you kind of drive around 6 months later, 18 months later, and you're like, oh, it's kind of a cute little downtown. It's a nice little development over here. And Leland, I mean, that development up there. Now, is that Brunswick or New Hanover up there?
No, Leland's in Brunswick County.
Okay, that's the tip top of the line, northern line there, right?
Yeah, you got Leland and Belleville kind of right there together before you cross the bridge.
Yeah.
Into Wilmington.
And then geographically,
coming up out of South Carolina,
yeah.
with Carolina Shores and Calabash. There's a restaurateur in Calabash. He was basically, I've heard him say that they don't have to have the tourists anymore. They used to have the tourists to keep the doors open. Now there's just enough people that are living there that they can sustain. So.
Yeah, isn't that crazy, man? Yeah. Yeah, the other thing I always have to try to get used to down at Ocean Isle is it being east-west. If you're looking at the beach or if you're looking at the ocean, the sun sets to your left. Sun rises to your left and sets to your right instead of in front of you and behind you. So, all right, last question, Justin. What's in the future for you? I obviously know the answer to this, so it's rhetorical, but the public wants to know. They demand to know what's in the future for Whiteside.
I don't know. I think I said at the beginning, I'd love to be able to retire with the town of Ocean Isle Beach. So, with local government, you can do that in 30 years. So I've got, soon to be 7 years left, and we'll see. I working in local government, I think, you're the closest to the people. People are going to call you for everything, and I like it. I like it being a different challenge every day. You don't know what you're going to get. I want to help people that their trash didn't get picked up. I want to help people because they've got a pothole or there's stormwater. Or, we get a lot of calls. Hey, did y'all spray for mosquitoes? I want to be able to and talk to people. I think that's. I don't know. I want to continue in public service in some way.
Yeah, no, I like that. You guys still run those bug trucks down the street like when we were growing up?
We still have what?
Those bug trucks. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, the mosquito trucks. Yeah, we come in fog.
That's crazy. Y'all still do that?
Yeah, man. People request it.
Oh man, I didn't know that was still a thing. It just seems like I remember it growing up, seeing it like my grandma's house because she lived in town. And now you think about that now, and you're like, man, that seems insane that we do that. But them skaters, man.
We hadn't had any rain this year though, so we hadn't had a lot of requests for it.
Good.
Hadn't had the mosquitoes either.
Good. Well, I can't believe my buddy from college, freshman year, first day, is 7 years from potential, retirement. And so, he may or may not have some other stuff in the pipeline for his future that I may or may not know about. But I'm happy to see he's doing so well and that he's done such a great job down at Ocean Isle, and I'm proud of him. And I love you, man. And anything you want to add?
I appreciate you having me. I love what you're doing, and you just keep it up because I love you too. I think it is hard to believe where we started to get to here, and how fast it's went. So you just never know, man. You never know who you're going to meet, who you're going to come across, and how it's going to change your life. So you just keep doing what you're doing.
And you can hear how Justin writes Hallmark cards in that last little requite there. So I appreciate it, buddy. Stay on here. I'll stop the recording and we can chat a little bit and then say goodbye.
All right, appreciate it. Thanks again.
All right, thanks, bud.